Hey everyone, Joey here, and today we're going to be doing a full setup guide for Dolphin on PC so that you can play your favorite GameCube and Wii games. And I'm also going to show you how to do extras like HD texture packs, widescreen, 60 FPS, cheats, and more. This video is a continuation on my series of doing setup guides for each individual emulator on PC. In case you've missed it, we have done Xbox 360 with Xenia Manager and Xenia Canary, Nintendo 3DS with Azahar, PS3 with RPCS3, and PS2 with PCSX2. Today, we are doing Dolphin. Dolphin is the only emulator option in the world to play your GameCube and Wii games via emulation. There is just no good alternative, and you don't need an alternative. It's awesome. Before we start, you're going to need GameCube or Wii games, of course. As for finding the games, the ROM's GitHub is usually a great resource. The best format is RVZ. They are much smaller file sizes, and it saves you a ton of room with no downsides. Otherwise, ISO is fine as well if you can't find RVZ. ISO is also useful for patching any ROM hacks or mods to ROMs, if you want to do that in the future. For storing the games, I would simply create a ROMs folder anywhere you want on your PC, then a GC folder for GameCube and a Wii folder for Wii games. Once you have all of that ready, let's go ahead and install Dolphin through their website. You're going to see a download link right on the front page, and then you want to download the latest release. And it's going to depend on your operating system. I'm using Windows, so Windows x64 is the right one. This is going to download as a 7-zipped file. So I suggest that you download and use 7-zip to extract the file, as we're going to need the contents inside. And you can just go to the 7-zip website to install it so that we can use it. Just right-click, 7-zip, and extract here. You can then move that extracted Dolphin x64 folder anywhere you like at this point. Maybe you have an emulators folder somewhere on your PC. You can throw it in there. Go ahead and open the Dolphin exe to launch Dolphin. Click yes or no to allow usage reporting to help the developers. The first thing we need to do is tell Dolphin where our games are. Now, the easy way to do this is just to double-click the screen and you can navigate to your GC folder and select it. But because we have a Wii folder too, let's do this a little bit differently. Go to Config and then Paths, and now here is where we can do the same thing. So click Add, and then navigate to your ROMs folder, and then the GC folder, and select it. Then repeat the same steps with your Wii folder. Click Close when done. You should now see all of your games start to populate on the home screen. If you don't, it means that something likely went wrong with your games. Either you didn't download them properly, or they're not in the right format of RVZ or ISO. You have to remember you have to extract them if they came zipped. Let's head back to Config, and we're going to start with the General tab. Go ahead and enable cheats. It's always useful to have this, there's no downside to enabling it. Now, let's head to Graphics. A lot of this is going to be dependent on your PC, so let's make it easy. Go ahead and leave the backend as default. However, you can change this to Vulkan if you want. That is usually one of the best options, but for new users, you can leave this as default. If you want to play around, try Vulkan. For adapter, make sure your graphics card is selected if you have one. Then check Start in Full Screen so that we don't start games in windowed mode. Lastly, at the bottom, check Compile Shaders before starting for the best experience. Click the Enhancements tab at the top. For internal resolution, this is where you can upscale your games if your PC can handle it. So if you have a 1080p monitor, let's say, or display, you can set the games to 1080p and so on. Head over to the Advanced tab at the top. Let's go ahead and enable Load Custom Textures. This is in case you want to do any HD textures in the future, or maybe now. You should also enable Prefetch Custom Textures to make loading those textures easier. Lastly, enable Graphic Mods if you plan to use those. Again, it's safe to just enable these, it doesn't hurt anything. Let's skip controllers for now, we'll be back. On the left, head to Interface, and if you want to get rid of the annoying "Are you sure you want to exit the game?" message when exiting a game, uncheck Confirm on Stop. Next, head to On-Screen Display on the left, and if you want to see the frame rate and so on, you can enable that here. Head to the Controllers tab on the left next. Let's go ahead and set up our GameCube controller first. You can see the port 1 dropdown depends on the controller you have, but for today, I'm going to assume that you have a handheld or a third-party controller like an Xbox controller. So keep it as standard controller and then click configure. At the top left, you want to choose the dropdown and you want to choose your controller from the list. There might be multiple options depending on your computer, and if you have an SDL one, choose that. If not, choose the X input one. So going with the SDL option, and we now need to map the controls. So just click the button map window to map the controls. For the most part, it is pretty easy to understand though. Use R1 for Z and start for start. Then map your D-pad, left stick to your left stick, right stick to the right stick. Just remember to map the triggers twice. So for L and R, that's going to be L2 and R2. And then for L analog and R analog, it's also L2 and R2. Here is a visual reference for what we just did for GameCube controls that you can pause and just look back at. Now, if your controller supports rumble, we can set that up as well. Click the box next to motor, double click motor L, then operators, and choose OR, and then double click motor R. Click test output to see if that works. If it doesn't, your controller likely doesn't support rumble. Lastly, head to the top right, and you want to write General GC in the profile and click save. You might be wondering why we're doing this. Well, if you ever want to use different controls for a specific game, maybe you want to map things differently for Dance Dance Revolution, Mario Mix, which is a game that you would want to do it for. Then you can create a profile for different scenarios. So we have a general one now that's going to work for most games, and then maybe you want to create a DDR one later for Mario Mix. So you have the option. And that's it. Click close at the bottom. If you want to set up multiple controllers, you can just repeat those same steps for ports 2 to 4. It's the same idea. Next up, let's go ahead and map Wii controls. Once again, for this guide, I'm going to assume that you're using a handheld or a third-party controller. Go ahead and click configure next to Wii Remote 1. Once again, select your controller from the device drop-down top left. Wii controls can be very confusing, so here's how we're going to set this up. For A, you want to use your bottom face button, so A on an Xbox controller. For B, use the left face button, so X on an Xbox controller. For 1, use the top face button, so Y on an Xbox controller. And for 2, use the right face button, so B on an Xbox controller. Then select and start, and for D-pad, map your D-pad to your controller. On the right, under Rumble, click the motor box, and you want to do the same steps we did for GameCube. So double-click motor L, then the OR operator, and then motor R. Click OK when done. Now head to the Motion Simulation tab. For shake, we're going to set X, Y, and Z as R2. R2 is going to be our shake button. Point is what's going to control the pointer for Wii, so you can think of the cursor in Mario Galaxy. Use the right stick here for mapping. So up on the right stick, down, left, and right. Then make sure that you check relative input. Go back to the General and Options tab. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and map the Nunchuck extension first, but we're also going to be doing the classic controller afterwards. On the right, under Extension, make sure that Nunchuck is selected, and then click Configure Extension. Go ahead and map your left stick to up, down, left, and right. We're going to be using L2 for C and L1 for Z on the right. Then click the Extension Motion Simulation tab at the top, and for X, Y, and Z under Shake, set it to L3. Here is a visual picture reference for what we just did for the Wii Remote plus Nunchuck Controls. You can pause here if you want just to double check. Go back to the General and Options tab, and now let's configure the Classic controller. So under Extension, choose Classic Controller. Then click Configure Extension. The Classic controller is a lot easier to configure, so just go right on through. I use the right face button for A, bottom for B, top for X, and left for Y. ZL and ZR are L1 and R1, then select and start. Then map your D-pad, left stick to your left stick, right stick to the right stick. L and R and L analog and R analog are going to be L2 and R2. Once again, here is a visual picture reference for what we just did for Wii Classic Controller controls. Pause here if you need to. Once all of that's done, head back to the General and Options tab and make sure that extension is set to Nunchuck. At the top, write General Wii and then click Save to save our controller profile. Then check the Sideways Wii Remote box and then write General Wii Sideways and click Save. Uncheck the Sideways Wii Remote box and change the extension to the Classic controller, then write General Wii Classic and click Save. We now have 3 different profiles: Wii Remote with the Nunchuck upright, which is General Wii, Wii Remote with the Nunchuck sideways, which is General Wii Sideways, and the Classic controller, which is General Wii Classic. Go ahead and select General Wii from the dropdown and click Load so that we keep that as our default option. Click Close. Let's go ahead and configure some controller hotkeys. So from the main Dolphin home screen, under Options at the top, choose Hotkeys Settings. Once again, make sure the device top left is your controller. So here's what I like to map. The first is either Stop or Exit. Stop is going to exit the game and it'll bring you right back to the Dolphin interface. Exit is going to exit the game and also exit Dolphin 2. So this usually depends. If you're going to be using a front end at all, then you want to use Exit. If you're not, then you probably want to use Stop. For whichever one you choose, I like to use L3 plus Start for either. Open Achievements, I like L3 plus Y. Scroll the tabs at the top to save and load state. I like to use L3 plus R1 for save to selected slot for save state, and L3 plus L1 for load from selected slot for load state. That is generally all I usually map, but feel free to map more if you find that you need it. Click Close when done. Last setting here is Achievements. So go to Tools at the top from the main Dolphin home screen, and then Achievements. And if you want to use Retro Achievements, you can log in here. Before we boot up a game, I know you're itching to do so, but right-click the game to get a lot more options for it. For example, Properties will show you some game-specific information. Open Save folder will get you right to the saves for that game, and so on. Keep all of this in mind, we'll be coming back. Let's go ahead and start a game. Go ahead and boot one up by double-clicking. And since I know that you're going to be wondering, our default control setup works awesome for Mario Galaxy. Our right stick controls the pointer on screen, bottom face button is A or jump, L1 is crouch or ground pound, R2 is shake for spin, left face button is firing star bits, and that's it. It all works great. To exit, if you copied me, it'd be L3 plus start. Go ahead and reopen Dolphin if you exited, and I'm going to be starting another Wii game, this time Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. And my controls are all messed up. Left D-pad is down, right D-pad is up. What's going on here? Well, right now our default control scheme for Wii is General Wii, and the Wii Remote is using the Nunchuck attachment and it's facing upwards. So we need to tell Fire Emblem what controller scheme we want to use. Exit the game. Right-click on Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn and choose Properties. Go to Game Config and then the Editor tab. In the bottom text box, you want to copy exactly what I'm writing on screen. So Controls in the brackets, and then on a new line, you want to do Wiimote Profile 1 equals General Wii Classic. This is going to tell Dolphin that for this game, we want to use our Classic controller profile. Go ahead and close, and then reopen the game, and now our controls work, and we're using the Classic controller. Obviously, all of this depends on what controller the game works with. For Wii games, some games just don't work with the Classic controller, but this game does. Alternatively, for this game, you also could have done General Wii Sideways instead, as this game does support the Sideways Wii Remote. Long story short, this is how you would do per game controller profiles for Wii. Now, if you're wondering about GameCube, it's the exact same steps, except the code that you write in is brackets controls, new line, pad profile 1 equals the name of the profile. Next up, let's talk about HD texture packs. You're going to want to have upscaling set to 1080p or better for these to work. You can find a whole bunch of them on the Dolphin emulation forums. There is a ton of games with HD texture packs, and each thread is going to have different instructions, but they're generally all the same. Let's use Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door as an example. Go ahead and download the texture pack from the link in the first post, the one that's labeled DDS Resource Pack. Then you want to extract that zip. Next up, we need to move that HD texture pack, and it needs to be placed into the Textures folder. To get there, in Dolphin, go to File, top left, open User Folder. Head inside of the Load folder, then Textures, and this is where your HD texture packs go. So if we go into the Paper Mario one, you're going to see a folder inside called G8M. This needs to match the game, and you can check this by heading back into Dolphin, finding the game, right-click, Properties, and check the game ID. You're going to see that it says G8M as the first 3 digits, so it matches. Copy and paste that folder into the Textures folder. Go ahead and load Paper Mario, and you should see loading a number of custom textures in the top left, which is a good sign that it worked. But also, the title screen for this specific game will be the next clue that it worked. It's a pretty noticeable difference. Next up is widescreen hacks and 60 FPS. You're going to want to make sure that you have cheats enabled from earlier in today's guide. Thankfully, Dolphin has all of this built in. So let's check out Super Mario Sunshine. Right-click the game, Properties, and head to Gecko Codes on the left. You're going to see here that we have widescreen and 60 FPS options. Just enable either or both. And when you launch the game, it's going to say 2 cheats enabled in the top left, and you're going to have both widescreen and 60 FPS enabled. But since we're here, let's talk about cheats since it's all in the same area. This time, select AR codes on the left, and you're going to see a ton of cheats that you can enable. Just enable the checkbox to enable them, and off you go. Otherwise, that's really all there is to Dolphin and setting it up, configuring it, and getting you ready to play some games. We went over everything and anything that I could personally think of, and you should now be able to do anything that you want in Dolphin using today's guide and the different timestamps. Don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow. Come join me on the Discord to talk all about retro gaming. Support me through YouTube membership if you like my stuff. And hope you all have a good one.